Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Hello, good evening, and welcome to 20 Years On. Around 7,500 days have passed since 1965. In 1965, Mark Thatcher was still trying to find his way home from school. London was a swinging city of trim mod dollies with flowing hair, only a little makeup, outrageous cloche hats and ornamental handbags. And the girls looked pretty good too. But what about 1985? Are we living the good life more today than in the 60s? What have we spent our time and money on for these past 30 years? And what does that show about us? We've invited some special guests here tonight to help us, along with our studio audience, plus the results of our special 20 Years On Gallup survey. Since the 60s, much has come and gone. For instance, we've lost those flying ducks on the wall, but we've gained flying pickets. We lost castor oil, we gained North Sea oil. We lost Omo, but gained Bold Automatic. And we lost Rutland, but by God, we retained the Falklands. We lost Green Shield stamps and gained Greenpeace. We've lost the Post on a Sunday, but we've gained the Mail on Sunday. We've lost Liter Rosa and gained Liter milk bottles. And we've lost, retained, and lost again those little blue bags on crisp packets. And in 1965, we didn't have any of these at all, for instance, these wonderful credit cards here that are theoretically our tickets, one way and another, to the whole of the good life. We've certainly gained money since 1965. In those days, you'd have picked up just £21, 10 shillings in your weekly pay packet. Today, the average paycheck is for £200. That's 10 times more. Even allowing for inflation, those in work are at least £50 a week better off in today's money. And we're taking the money and running as well. Those who've got the jobs, the cash and the homes are heading away from the north, heading away from cities and heading away from the unemployed towards what they hope will be a better life. Our survey confirms that we feel better off in money terms. And the majority of the unemployed feel that too. As one viewer said, "I've got enough money to last me a lifetime unless I buy something." But and here's the catch. We feel we're less satisfied with life than previous generations. Less satisfied. Although we may feel we're better off, we feel we're less satisfied. Quick show of hands around the audience. I mean, how many people here in general wish that we could still be living in the 60s? How many people would quite like us to still be living in the 60s? What proportion of our... quite a few people all over our audience. Lady here, why would you like us to...
I think those better times.
You think they were better times? In what way?
In every way.
In every way? Oh, well, that's... The lady next to you, in every way?
I was a lot younger. I had my children with me.
And you had your children with you as well. Danny Blanchflower put it up his hand too.
I think that, you know, I had better qualities in the 60s than I do now. When you talked about the money, I think you could get better quality stuff in the 60s because I think the money has devalued more than...
Better quality stuff.
Yes, well, I bought a shirt. I mean, the plastic bag wasn't better than the shirt as it is now, you know.
Well, our survey asked people of all ages which is the best decade of the century, and overwhelmingly all age groups chose the 1960s, even those who weren't even born then. 3 times as many people picked the 60s than any other decade. But perhaps it's not surprising in a way. The 60s, after all, was the dawning of the age of Aquarius. There were new-style heroines and new-style heroes. There were outrageous new crazes in fashion. Indeed, in almost all forms of adornment as well. Well, in 1985, industry, commerce, the advertising men are all trying to package the good life and sell it to us. Peter Marsh has been described, I'm not quite sure by who, as the JR of British advertising. Did you think of that or somebody else?
Not at all. It's those sort of remarks that creep in columns and then repeated by you, David.
Exactly. And now posterity's got it now.
Absolutely right. I can't deny it.
Now tell me, we have a much more consumer-oriented society now than 65, don't we?
Inevitably. And I think this, if we go back to the quality of life in the 60s and why people thought it was better, it indeed was better. There was a quality of optimism. You believed that things would happen as long as you made made them happen. Suddenly teenagers emerged as a discrete group. Fashion photography, fashion music, consumer goods started to appear, and people believed the good life was available. And we've seen for the last 20 years it indeed has become available. 60% of people own their own homes. 90% of houses have a fridge freezer. 60% of homes own one car, 15% own two cars. So physically and manifestly we see it better.
But is the consumer society been a good thing for us, or any drawbacks? Or
Well,
not
I think it's an inevitable thing, but if you get more cars, you'll get more pollution. It's like everything in life. You pay for what you get in one form or another. I don't think you can draw a sharp distinction between the good and the bad. The good will inevitably bring the bad in its wake. It's inevitable.
In the 1960s, Harold Wilson talked about the white heat of technology. And as technology has entered our homes over 20 years, we've measured success in how much time it saves us. Think how much money we've all spent on appliances to save time. According to our survey, the washing machine is the most important appliance in the running of the home. The fridge comes next, and the telephone is rated more important than the vacuum cleaner. That's useful for the cleaning lady to ring up and say she's not coming in today. But I mean, how many people in this audience, for instance, have got, let's say, a fridge, a freezer, and a washing machine? Almost everybody. And what do you do with the time you save, do you think? That you, gentlemen there, what do you think happens to the time we save with those things?
Probably reading, television, leisure activities.
What about over here? How many people here have got all three again? Let's just see over here. Lady there, what do you think, to save time? Yes?
More ironing, I think, because you're doing more washing, so I've got more ironing to do. But I've got
More
time
ironing
to do
despite
it.
having all of those things?
Yes, I think so. I wash more than perhaps my mother did. She perhaps did it just once a week, but I probably wash every other day.
A minority of homes had those appliances, though, in the 30s, I mean, in the 60s. I mean, obviously they had television sets and so on, though not in the abundance they do today. But now the vast majority have all these appliances we're talking about, with some unforeseen effects, like with electric toothbrushes, which were virtually unknown 20 years ago. Now, according to one local dentist, one of the major causes of tooth decay is weak batteries. Well, you know, so that's new. Anyway, we've spent 20 years spending time to earn enough to spend money on saving time. But has it all been worth it? Has it all enriched all of our lives? I mean, Bill Sears, you've seen it very closely as a trades union leader and so on. Has it all been worthwhile, this saving of time?
No, I don't think so, really, if you think in terms of the unemployed. In 1960, I was unemployed for a week. And I remember there was practically less than 1 million unemployed. We thought it was terrible. We're now in a situation that, coming from the northeast as I do, I can see 85% of young people in concert who leave school and don't get a job. We see some of them in Sunderland and Hartlepool and all of those places. And you can multiply that by Merseyside and many of the other poor areas. You'll find that they're not getting employment either. So whilst we have materially advanced in some of these things which we use in the home, etc., the facts are we haven't learned to use the sort of wealth that's been acquired from the North Sea and elsewhere. And there's nothing worse than young people leaving school not getting a job, reaching the age of 21, still not getting a job, and so it goes on. And so what happens? We have riots, etc. happen, and there must be a link with unemployment.
So that they're left out of the equation of what we're talking about.
Well, it's a large number of people,
Yeah.
and I don't think we're doing enough.
After the war, we lived according, for instance, to the 3 48s. 48 hours work a week, 48 weeks work a year, and 48 years of working life. 48, 48, 48. But trends to shorter weeks, longer holidays, and early retirement suggest that by the year 2000, we'll be living the 335s, a 35-hour working week. Actually, we're getting quite close to that already. For 35 weeks a year, for 35 years. Now, what's the pattern going to be going on from there? Bob Tyrrell, you gaze into the future for us. What do you see in this area?
I think that by the year 2000, we're going to see a much more complex equation between work and leisure. Arguably, it's already the case that a lot of people in their free time are doing things which are genuinely creative and genuinely productive. For example, you could argue that 350,000 people running a marathon or a half marathon are saving a lot of money of spending on the National Health Service. So by the year 2000 and beyond, I think the question of work and leisure, productive time, unproductive time, will be much more complex. Looking at it more conventionally, though, there's no doubt that technology will advance, that productivity will lead to, for those in the better half of the two nations, with more opportunities for leisure, and with more opportunities to spend money on their leisure.
But with that much less time on some things and much more time to find something to do with. But first, let's take a look now at how we're passing the time right now in 1985. I mean, what do you all think is the most popular way for men and women to spend their spare time? Carry on. Carry on. Well, the answer actually is, as Peter Marsh said, television. He said 5 hours a day, which is why, you see, it's not the thing you just thought it was, in fact. And in fact, men spend an average 21¾ hours a week watching television, and women watch 4 hours more. We don't know exactly what they're watching, that the men are not, but by the way, that doesn't include watching videos. But apart from television, what else do we do to pass the time? I mean, what do people do to cheer themselves up? Everybody has a moment when they want to cheer themselves up. What do you all do to cheer yourself up? Go to bingo. Go to bingo over there. Well, who else? What else? Pardon? Listen to music. What else?
Down a pub.
Go down a pub. Drink wine. Over here. What else? Darts. What else? What about over here?
Play golf.
Pardon?
Play golf.
Play golf there. John Wells, Willie Rushton, what do you do to cheer yourself?
Appear on television.
Yes, always.
In this sort of programme, invariably.
When we get really depressed.
When you feel really depressed, you come along
on,
here
have a bit of a
and
laugh.
you're looking better already too. It's wonderful to see it. Wonderful to see it. Well, when our survey asked what cheers you up, people said very much the same thing. This was a survey all over the country, that the things that you've just yelled out so accurately. I mean, they said, amongst other things, that they'd eat something or go for a walk or a drive. Most popular choice, though, for women was to go out and buy something. And top of the list for men was having a stiff drink. Those were the actual summings up of the thing. So they broadly fit in with your...
Drink on television.
Prior to appearing on television.
Yes, well, we'll get you a stiff drink now, shall we?
I've had one already. I wouldn't come on a show like this sober, would you?
I didn't think that one.
Very right. So they're all right. They're all right. So after the break, they'll be all right still. We can give them another drink in the break. And then after the break, we'll rip the lid off the muesli packet to find out exactly where 1985's consumers put their mouths and their money. E.L. Whistey's coming too. All of that in a moment.